Welcome, everybody, to the show. Today we've got Art, our good friend Art of DogFit Dallas, and we are also celebrating our 400th podcast episode. Art, welcome back again to the show.
Hey, Ian, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on here, and it's awesome that I'm the 400th contestant, or
Yes.
what do you call
Art
it?
Ortiz, come on down.
Yeah.
I think every trainer kind of goes through this where we have our clients that struggle and even dread taking their dogs for a walk, whether it's the pulling or lunging or overreacting, whatever the behavior is. I know there's a lot of owners that don't even want to take the leash off the hook, out of the cabinet, out of the drawer. It's just too much for them. Are you finding that as well too with some of your clients, new clients, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, I think when people get like a new dog, and they have a hard time taking them for a walk because, whether they get them for a breeder or they go to the shelter, whether they have a dog that's nervous or they have a dog that's reactive, they start to struggle. So that goes into how people feel about going on a walk. And so I think one of the biggest things that people are afraid of is being judged, or what people are going to think of them when they're on a walk, So I think that's one of the things that why people reach out for help is because one, that they're being judged, but also I think that they just want to have a nice, enjoyable walk with their dog.
I think when I used to do classes, I always felt like when people walked in for the first week and they're walking in with their dog who was behaving badly because they've never been in that situation, I always felt like that owner in that moment was being judged by how their dog was acting. So I know exactly where you're coming from. And I wish as a trainer we could take that feeling away, because I think there are a lot of people that deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say that here locally, I'm really big on community, and you can ask any of my clients how we build like this community, build a family. It's something that's really important to me. So you're not just hiring me to be their dog trainer; they're hiring me to be part of something bigger than just that. So it's, we have these pack walks that we do, and people will tell me, like, if I have like a one-on-one session with someone, and let's say it's a dog that's reactive, and I say, hey, we're about to have a pack walk on this day, which is coming in a couple weeks. You should come out and join us. And they said, well, we're going to get some practice and we want to make sure this reactivity is down. I was like, no, I want you to come out there, because this is where you're going to feel welcome. Everybody's going to go through the same thing and no one's going to judge you. And once I say that, they're like, okay. And so they show up and they're just welcome, because if their dog is reactive, so what? We just work through it. And I say, just wait till the end. Trust me, you just stick around to the end. And sure enough, people leave in their tears and they're just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So it's building that connection with people that, you don't worry about being judged. That's what we're here for, to help you out.
And I think it's important people understand that they're not alone with this too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is so much of this going on, especially this day and age with COVID and dogs not getting out and seeing other people and other dogs. Having a sense of community like that is invaluable, right? You can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah, we still do it. I mean, we're doing we call it the social distancing walk. We're outdoors and, we keep safe. And, luckily I've been going to people's homes. I'm always protected and things like that. But I haven't had COVID. It'll be a matter of time before I get it, I think. But I mean,
positive outlook.
Yeah, it's just crazy, especially here in Texas. It's been crazy. But
yeah,
when we do our social distancing walk, we do it to keep things safe, but also to have fun.
All right. So you've got 3 concepts, ideas, ways here where you feel like you can help people handle their dog better, even just getting ready for the walk. Yeah. I always tell people the pulling starts even before you grab the leash inside the house. So what's the first one for you? What are you teaching your clients, Art, to help them get ready to take their dog for a walk?
Yeah. So the first thing is, I always ask myself, and this is whether I'm doing anything in my life, but this specifically with the dogs, I always have to check in with myself and ask myself, how do I feel? And what am I trying to accomplish? And so it's understanding, am I angry? Am I frustrated? Did I just come home from work, had a bad day at work? Am I frustrated about something? Because I don't want to take that on the walk with me. I want my walk to start off with, this is an enjoyable thing that I'm going to do with my walk, how I feel. And so I'm going to put everything aside. And this goes from my personal experience, by the way, how I got started, because a long time ago, I was going through divorce. I was going through almost being homeless and all these other things. And I always had to check in with myself, and going on a walk was my favorite thing to do. It was absolutely my favorite thing to do. And so this is still the thing that I still want to do, and say, I'm going to go on a walk and I'm going to feel good about this. So, but some days I have bad days. I'm human. I have really days that things frustrate me and I get frustrated with some things, but I have to set it aside. So I ask myself, how do I feel? What am I trying to accomplish? I feel good. I want to feel calm because I know that that's going to reflect on my dog, right? Because if I get excited, they get excited, right?
Yeah.
So if I can feel good about this, then I want them to feel good about going on a walk. Because if I'm getting excited, angry, frustrated, anxious, any of these things, they build up, then the dog is feeding off of that in a way, right? So the first thing is ask yourself, check in with yourself is how do I feel and what are you trying to accomplish? Okay. And then that goes into number 2. How does the dog feel?
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
If again, I just said this earlier, if we get overly excited, the dog gets excited. You want to go for a walk? And the dog's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's party. And so then we just take that on the walk and they're like, the dogs are looking around like, where's the dogs? Where's the dogs? And it's just like this big adrenaline fest. I ask myself, how do I feel? What am I trying to accomplish? How does the dog feel? So we start there. Those are the first 2 things that I really look at.
And I think that's important to be able to take a step back and not only observe yourself too, like you're saying in number 1, how do you feel? But also to take a step back and observe how your dog feels. I sometimes tell people that if you just take an extra 1 or 2 minutes and just watch your dog before the walk and see what they're doing, if they've got happy feet and they're prancing around, you're probably not ready to go for a walk yet.
Yeah.
I think it's important to take that time, even if it's a part of the 30-minute walk, you take an extra 2-3 minutes inside. You don't have to make up for that outside. To me, I'd much rather have a healthier state of mind to start out with than happy feet. And I don't know how my dog feels. And let's just go and start hunting for people and other dogs.
We both have worked with Lynn, and Lynn has a thing called behavior expectation drill.
Yep.
And basically he's saying that how the dogs see our patterns. People, we put their shoes on, they recognize the shoe equals we're going to go on a walk. We grab for the leashes, even changing how we just change the pattern, break that pattern to have a different expectation. So when we do go on the walk, it doesn't represent this full on excitement. I'm not saying dogs can't be excited and go on a walk. That's not, right. I think that I want to make that clear because I think people think the dog has to be just like still and not make a sound. No, like I want this to be a fun thing to go on a walk together, but not bouncing off the walls. I think there should just be like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to go, we're going to enjoy this walk together, just you and I, it should be an enjoyable experience, Well,
and I think part of it too is that there's the misconception that the dog isn't happy unless it's excited. And that when you take that state of mind out of the house and you bring it down the road or down the street or to the farmer's market, it's not beneficial to you because you're going to be pulling back on the dog and the leash. And it's just, I see people, or you hear people talking about having sore shoulders and arms and a neck by the time they're done walking. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you feel like dog owners can look for in this, Art? When you say, number 2 here, how does the dog feel? What do you want them to look for? What do you want them to observe in that moment when they're getting ready to even put the leash on the dog?
So that's actually a really good question, because I think understanding on what to look for. For me, it's not so much that I want the dog to be sitting. I don't care what the dog is doing in the sense of like, I do care what the dog is doing, but I don't want it to be going away from you. I want it to just be still for the moment, but I also want not the dog to be charging out the door. And that's why we teach thresholds, like why that's so important. But for me, I want a dog that can be just looking up to me and say, hey, we're going to do this. Yep, we're going to go. And then I can put the leash on. Then we can go out. Then I can reach for the door. And the dog's like, okay, I'll just wait for you to go. I'm going to wait for you to invite me out. So some people will have the dog sit. I don't really care, just as long as the dog is more chill. I can open the door. We're all looking. Okay, then we can go through. Kind of just walk out. So what I look for is more of like the body language, in the sense of how the mind is. How does that mind influence the body? And just not running around and trying to charge out the door. Just more connected to me. Like, okay, I see you. Let's go. That's what I want. More connective. I want to be more connected to the dog.
And I think that connection is important too. I mean, we teach that all the time. Yeah. Before walking outside, getting out of the car, getting into the car even. I think that connection is key with what's missing with a lot of relationships between dogs and their owners. And having that understanding of the body language too, because there are sometimes you get the dog that is so wound up, they're just staring at you, waiting for the big release where you can just say,
Okay.
go. Yeah. Yeah. And they're off like a shotgun. We always say it's like the runners at a starting line of a race. As soon as the gun goes off, it's like everybody bursts out of the gates. And so that connection and the eye contact, I think, are quite key when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
When you get ready for a walk personally, Art, for just you and your dogs, how long does this process take of getting ready to go for a walk, getting everybody leashed up, and getting out the door?
I don't walk my dogs. My wife does. I'm just kidding. No.
Get her in here.
Yeah. Let me go call her here really quick. No, I'm just kidding. No, so I have our newest dog, Honey. She's the one that gets the most excited. So we have Frankie is like my dog, and so he gets excited, right? And I don't mind that they get excited, right?
Yeah.
But Honey, she's the dog that bounces off the walls. Like nothing really gets her really excited unless she sees a leash come out. So she's always the last one to get the leash on. So I put, Nala's easy. Luna gets a little bit excited, but we can let them get excited and then bring them down, just kind of wait a little while, and then Honey is the one that I really have to slow down, and I just have to wait, and she'll come to me, but she's just like crawling out of her skin. But once I put the leash on her, she immediately calms down, like instantly, even on the walk. Like it's just like magic for her. She's like, okay, cool. So with her, but understanding her also, knowing that I know that she's not going to be excited, I will let her get excited. I'll let her do all those things. I know the leash does bring excitement. I know a lot of times we want to teach that the leash should be calm, but for her, she's extremely sensitive. I can't put a lot of pressure on her. So knowing that, I let her do that, put the leash on her, let her go through it, and as soon as the leash goes on, she's calm. So the end goal is that she's actually gone to be calm. So if, I want people to understand that, that because people always like, well, you got to be calm before you put the leash on. Yes, that's true. You want it, for the most part, you want to teach it, but also making some adjustments for your dog can they be calm on the walk? So as soon as I put knowing Honey, how she is, I can put the leash on her and she immediately just calms down and we can go on a walk, So I'm not going to wait 20 hours for her to finally calm down because, it may take forever, but I allow them to do those things, let them get it out, put it on the leash, put the leash on her, boom, she's calm, then we could go. So then I open the door, they wait, then we go.
So do you think, in a way, and I'm getting into the weeds a little bit here, do you think there's any part of her that's excited about getting calm?
She's calm most of the time. She is the chillest dog, lazy.
Until you grab the leash.
Until I got the leash. And
so how long do you think this whole process takes for you to get out the door? 2
minutes.
Yeah.
No, it's not long at all. I think when you do it over and over, they kind of know the routine.
Yes.
It's it's the, like going back to Lynn, behavior expectation drill. When you do it so much, they just know.
Well, you're creating the pattern for them to follow.
Right.
All right. Number 3, what do you have?
Once we know how we and the dog feel, it's understanding the tool that we're using. I think it's also knowing how to use the tool, and don't use tools that conflict with each other. A lot of times I see people walking out, they have a prong collar or a halty and they have a flexi leash and the dog is at the end of the flexi leash. I'm like, and guys, I'm not against flexi leashes. I actually do see some value. I actually recommended to a client that was teaching recall because on the long line, she couldn't reel the leash fast enough. It was getting tangled and it was just becoming a problem. It's like, let's get a flexi leash. And so you could just, push a button and you don't have to worry about the slack, the dog stepping over it. So anyways, I'm not against flexi leash, but I'm against when they're used in a way that allows the dog to give too much exploration. Okay. So, you're not going to have a dog that's going to be on a flex leash and a prong collar at the, why? Especially if we're going on a walk. That's the activity. The activity is we're going to go on a walk. I want you to be with me, not going everywhere the entire walk. Yeah. Now, you can allow the dog to go and explore and do all these things, but we're going to go for a walk. We're going to go for a walk. So knowing how the tool works and understanding what benefits it brings. Okay. So whether it's a prong collar, halty, slip lead, I use slip leads on all my dogs. I just feel that it's just a good tool. But I'm not opposed to using other tools to help accomplish something. I I always say that dogs really don't need tools. Mostly the humans do, but
sure.
the tools are just there to help accomplish something. And each tool can be used fairly, and a lot of tools can be used unfairly, right? So it's, when I go back to saying how we feel about something, I always ask people, how do you feel about this tool? And they might say it's a halter or whatever. They're like, well, I don't like the way it looks. Well, let me show you why it's important. So let's get over how you feel about the way it looks, or even a prong collar. People feel that it looks cruel, you know? So even a crate, that's a tool, right? People are like, I don't want to cage my dog. So let's change how we feel about it. Let's change how we feel about the tool. Because if you're going to be using a tool, you have to feel good about it. Or just even indifferent about it. You know, it's just something that's there to accomplish something. Okay. You know, I was, remember before we got on here, I was telling you how I was hanging up blankets on my windows to block out all the cold. So I got a hammer yesterday, and I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, you know, you got a hammer, you know, and I was like, if I give this to my son, he's going to hurt himself. Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to put it aside so he doesn't grab it, because that's what he likes to do, is grab everything. And I just thought, you know, wow, this could be a weapon, right? But it could also be used to build something to a beautiful home. Yeah. Right. So same thing with tools. Like, we have to feel good about what we're trying to accomplish. So I said earlier, the first thing I said is, how do you feel? What are we trying to accomplish? So let's change how we feel about the tool, and it's the accomplishment, or what we're trying to accomplish at the end. What the big goal is, right? Is I want to be able to walk my dog nicely, not be frustrated, you know, and the tool could be there to help you out. Whether it's a dog that lunges, you can have a little more control and stuff like that. So, you know, tools are just there to help. It's changing how we feel about the tool itself.
I think it's also important for people, because I'm going to piggyback on that. I think it's important for people to understand that the tool that they choose today doesn't have to be the same tool for the rest of the dog's life.
Yep.
Especially once you create the pattern of the dog being able to walk next to you. And if everything's going well and the dog's reacting, then you probably don't need a prong collar or something like that. You can start to soften, if you will, the tool and go to a slip lead or a martingale or something along those lines, but still make sure, like you're saying, still make sure that you feel good about it. Because there's some times where you pull out a tool and an owner will say, do I have to walk him or her on that for the rest of their life? I'm like, no, that's just up to you and the work that you put in with it. And the dog can understand, you know, what's expected of it at that time. So I think it's important for people to understand that just because we use tools, it doesn't mean they're a forever tool.
And I will also add something else here to that, Ian, is that I have even recommended in certain cases, people use a harness, because honestly, it was the best tool for that situation. It doesn't happen a lot, but it was just, it was just the best tool for that situation, for that dog.
And I think that's up to us too, as the professionals here, to be able to figure out what's best for that situation between dog and owner, and the compatibility that goes along with it too. I think the big struggle here, as I think this through, is that when somebody goes and buys a tool out of a box store, there's no directions on how to use it. And unfortunately, that's the hurdle. Like, and also the combination of tools, like you said, the retractable on a prong collar is not really going to be the most beneficial to that owner.
There was also how you talked about, like, you know, people buy tools, and I think that's also another thing is, anytime you put let's say a halter on a dog, they don't like it. Like, it's rare that you get a dog that says, "Oh, this is cool. This is no problem." That never happens.
No,
I mean, it's happened once or twice for me, but it's rare that it happens.
It is.
So for me, when I'm teaching the tool, I also want to have the least amount of struggle as possible.
Amen.
You know, because I can tell you, I was, you know, when I was taught the halter a long time ago, it's like, oh, just go through the fights. You know what? I just can't sit in front of my clients while their dog is alligator rolling. You know, I just can't do that. So for me, it's more about, does food help? Does a toy help? How can we condition this dog to help, you know, with the halter, right? Because immediately, if I'm going to people's houses and their dog is struggling, they're probably going to fire me, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would fire myself if I saw my dog struggling like that. Now, I'm not saying that dogs don't go through a struggle. And I tell people, like, hey, your dog's going to probably struggle, but let me tell you what I'm going to do if it does struggle. I'm going to bring in some food. I'm going to, you know, use another leash. I'm going to just do all these things so that we can limit the struggle. And I say, if your dog struggles a little bit, I won't let it get too far. But if you allow me to just work through it, just because I need to have the owners feel good about it, right?
Yeah.
But I also need to paint them a picture. Like, your dog may struggle with this.
Yeah.
If it does, I'm not going to go too far. And there's times where I'm like, I don't say, oh, this is going to work. We got to finish this. I'll step back and reassess and try to figure out how to make it work differently, you know? So, you know, I paint a picture that says, hey, you might be, this is the things, the worst case scenario is you're going to see this. Give me a couple minutes and I'm going to walk the dog through it. And you're going to see how the dog is going to start doing better and better and better. And so once I've kind of painted that picture, they already know what to look for. They've already experienced it visually in their mind. And then, you know, I've already told them, give them a fair warning, and then they see their dog improving. So then they say, okay, this is going to work, because I have to change the way they feel about it.
And I think too, you being able to kind of predict what the dog's going to do and how you're going to get through it. And then for the owner to see the steps followed, like the dog just did what he said it was going to do before he even did anything. I think that brings confidence to them that you know what you're doing, you know what to expect to happen from the dog. But it also gives you the comfort and patience to be able to do what you need to do with the dog in that time too, rather than sitting there going, I hope they don't mind this. I hope this is okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's stuff that you've already worked out and you know what's happening ahead of time. And that's very valuable to any young trainer that watches this, but also to dog owners if they're hiring a trainer too. I think, to me, find out what the trainer is going to do first, get a game plan, and see if it gets fulfilled.
100%.
Cool. Well, these are 3 really good ideas here to help people along. And I think the fact, and the reason I asked you how long it took, Art, was because this goes back to people just taking an extra 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes with their dogs before they go for a walk. I mean, you're a trainer with multiple dogs and you've got it down to 2 minutes, but it's something that gets practiced a lot. And I'm sure if it's not you, your wife's doing pretty much the same thing. And I think those extra few minutes are extremely valuable to the dogs, and you taking the time to check out how your dog feels about it too.
Yeah. I will say my wife is probably better at it than I am. I'm not afraid to admit that. She's pretty good with walking our dogs.
Different energy, different vibe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's also more like, not more serious, but she's like, she doesn't put up with anybody's crap. Like, she's just like, we're going to do this. Me, I'm just like, I have my one dog that's Frankie, who's like my spoiled dog. He gets away with a lot of things. He's not a bad dog. He just gets away with things. And my wife was like, why do you let him get away with that? Like, why not? You know? But he acts, when on a walk, he actually walks better for her than for me.
Was that humbling in the beginning to see that change once you recognized it?
No.
No, you're cool with it.
Yeah.
That's who you are though too.
Well, it's also like Frankie met me at a different time in my life. You know what I mean? Like, so he knows who I really am, in the sense of like, he's like, he looks at me, he's like, I know who you used to be. You know, I knew who you used to be. You weren't this dog trainer guy, but he's not a bad dog by any means, by the way. Like, people can walk him. He's a really good dog. But I let him get away with certain things that my wife's like, I wouldn't let him get away with that. But
he stuck by it. He's paid his dues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Art, thank you so much for joining us with this today. I think this will help out a lot of dog owners with taking their dog for a walk. So thank you for that. And just to let everybody know, next week, we've got Tamara Burton-Bellotti with us. She's going to give us 3 ideas on how to make your dog a little healthier, as she does a lot with nutrition as well. So
that's awesome.
Yes. Yep. Good times. All right. Thank you, sir. Certainly
Matt,
appreciate it.
Thank you guys. 400. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yes. I don't know if you'll be getting a plaque or not, Art. I'll have to.
Okay.
Maybe a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Thank you much. We'll catch you later.
All right. How's it going? Bye.